so what we're going to do is we'll do brief introductions. I know many of us have spoken already. The gentleman to my left, nobody knows in the crypto world, which is a joke. But Nick, why don't you go ahead and start, and we'll just keep going down to do quick introductions.
I'm a Bitcoin pioneer. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that about myself, but
only if the IRS cares.
Did I hear? Oh, let's speak freely. I came from the Liberty movement, and I believe in decentralization and provability and digital scarcity. At one point, I had 30% of all the blockchain patents of my design, and I'm in this space in every which way. I have many coders. I don't know.
That's enough. Thanks, Nick. And maybe rumored might have started the first exchange.
Oh, I started the first live cryptocurrency exchange 100 feet from the New York stock market on the ground floor to compete against them in 2013. There's a Netflix documentary called Banking on Bitcoin. Banking on Bitcoin is pretty funny. Yeah, because they wouldn't listen to me about Bitcoin back then, so I figured I'd open my own exchange.
All right, well, thanks, Nick. I'm sure the world thanks you as well. Kristin, over to you.
Smart man, Nick. My name is Kristin Oltman. I am a former United States Department of Defense employee. I worked in the security studies with a unique American-German partnership of MOD and DOD. That opened the door in the crypto, or I should say decentralized world, for me to come in and apply the network of over 10,000 security professionals from over 153 different countries that I worked with. I now am the technology evangelist for Ethernity CLOUD, which is, in our opinion, of course, the future of decentralized confidential computing. We are building a decentralized network, a decentralized ecosystem now to solve some of those security challenges that I was able to learn during my career.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Kristin. Laszlo?
I'm Laszlo Mari. I'm the founder and CEO of Dakai Group. We are building blockchain products, among other innovations for large companies. These include Google, the government of El Salvador, Binance, and some other names in different industries.
Thanks, Laszlo. Luba?
Good afternoon. My name is Luba, coming from ICICB Group, originally active in financial sector, diamonds, gold, and real estate. And last couple of years, we are developing ourselves in blockchain and metaverse because we believe there is a future.
Thanks, Luba. And Mike?
Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Gord. I'm the founder and CEO of the GDA Group of Companies, serial entrepreneur investor, pretty diversified across the blockchain capital market. And I'm also the founder and COO of Metaverse Group, which is one of the largest holders of metaverse land in the world.
Thanks, Mike. So I'm going to do this different. I'm going to start with Laszlo, and we're here to talk about blockchain business. And so beyond crypto, you could talk about your own project, you could talk about projects you've heard of. What do you think is exciting about blockchain beyond cryptocurrency?
I think now we are in a stage where with every immature technology, it once becomes mature. And in many cases, this involves a lot of excitement and a lot of misguided energy. But right now, it's getting more and more stable. And the blockchain is being used for real things. As an example, in El Salvador, for example, people had this issue that banks were not really used, and whenever people went to a bank, they withdrew money and then they got mugged in many cases. And so it solved a real problem. And for example, with IP rights, with many other things where usually the transaction was very slow and very manual, and still is in many cases, the blockchain is here to change that and to make transactions fast between parties and to make it trustable between various people who don't even know each other in many cases.
Thanks, Laszlo. Luba?
I can talk about generations difference between, for example, me and my son. He is 20 years old now, I'm 46, and I'm still old school guy, a little bit touching this world of blockchain. Of course, business-wise, we are very much into that. And when we have discussion, there is one sentence that I heard and I liked it. Actually, the blockchain allows each and every individual, each and every person to be the bank himself. So he can do any exchange, any transaction, and he can actually help. So why I mentioned my kid, because he's now on a faculty, and when I was young, I was working as a waiter, as a bodyguard, even some physical works, because I wanted always to have more money, to have pocket money and stuff like this. And today, our kids, they don't need to do any difficult jobs and difficult works. They can simply buy, sell, trade, learn about these things, and dedicate themselves to school, to study, and from the comfort of their student campus and their rooms, rather than going and doing hard jobs, as the students support themselves, and even some of them can pay their own scholarship, and in the same time they are learning about the business, about economy, about finance, about trading, about many things that, honestly speaking, I started learning when I was about 40.
Thanks, Oltman. So also the point there is that not only is it decentralized finance in some ways, but that because the technology is easily accessible, that those that don't have the traditional education can actually pick it up and learn, even our children.
Of course.
Thank you. Mike?
Real world benefits of blockchain, is that the question?
Yeah.
So each niche of blockchain technology is providing real world value. For example, most of the world lives on, or a large percentage of the world lives on a couple dollars a day of daily income. With play to earn games, it's very possible to earn 10, 20, 30, 40 dollars a day consistently without needing to wonder where you're gonna get your next meal. So GameFi is really transformational. Fixed income on the blockchain, I'm really excited about. We're hoping to be the first to produce the first investment grade bonds on the blockchain with a 5% annual yield. And I say that because Barclays is paying for our rating so they can buy all of the bonds we have access to. Whereas in the traditional capital market, a 1-2% APY bond is what's normal. 5% is really extraordinary. In the metaverse, it's growing by 3,000, or last year it grew by 3,000% users, from 15,000 users to over 1 million monthly active users. If that trend continues, then by 2025, 2026, every human on Earth is going to be in the metaverse. NFTs are securitizing real-world assets on the blockchain, so they're provably owned, provably scarce, provably transferable. So we really need to talk about which niche to dive deeper, but every niche in blockchains right now is not speculative, it is really transformational.
Mike's bringing up a really good point. As a former managing director of technology risk for MUFG, looking at blockchain early on when Nick was making a lot of money on that. We're using terms because we're trying to apply traditional concepts of finance and banking. So when you say securitize NFTs, technically, and this is not legal or accounting advice, you don't want to securitize an NFT because the NFT itself is a non-fungible token. Once you break that NFT into parts, that becomes potentially securitized, and that's what will bring interest. And this is really important. Why I'm bringing this up, because Mike brought it up. It's really important that as we're all progressing and evolving, adopting these technologies, that regulations do become important. And I say that because a lot of concept is about how people think that crypto or blockchain is outside the reach of the government. It can be, but a lot of times it's not. So it's just something I wanted to follow up with what Mike was saying. I'm going to go to Kristin, then I'll go to Nick.
Thank you, Keith. It's a good point for me. Being a former security studies guy, obviously Keith's point is very valid for me in the defense sector. So blockchain for me is a simple building block as an answer to so many questions we've had for over decades of how to make some things work, yeah? So it's kind of the key to solve a lot of issues that we had. So at Ethernity CLOUD, we base everything on data privacy is a human right, and we firmly believe that, and that's our mission. So blockchain has really opened the door to make this such a feasible goal for us. And without the blockchain, I just don't see how we could have done that without so many more issues and more questions developing from that. So the blockchain for us was really the centralized of our decentralization. So that was our main aspect and our main goal, and through the blockchain we've been able to really do that. So we're very appreciative.
If I may, Keith.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
You mentioned that NFTs should not be securities, and I think that there's actually a tremendous use case for NFTs representing securities. For example, you could have NFTs representing LP shares of a fund. You could have 10,000 NFTs to crowdsource participation in your fund from investors that traditionally wouldn't get exposure, and there could be randomized participation. So, one NFT represents a much higher percentage of the fund than other NFTs.
Oh yeah, Mike, I didn't mean to say I'm disagreeing with you. What I was trying to say was that an NFT in itself, by definition, is a non-fungible token versus currency, which is fungible. And so an NFT in itself right now, at least in, again, not legal or accounting advice, but from a US security standpoint, NFT when it's alone as an NFT is by definition not a security. But when you securitize it, which is what you were talking about, or you're breaking it down into multiple pieces, then it could be a security, and you've now securitized the NFT. I'm not disagreeing with what the practical use cases are, right?
Yeah, possible use case, but not by default.
Yeah, so that's why. But why this is a good conversation that Mike and I are having is because these are conversations that are happening every day with every startup trying to do DeFi. So one of the examples, and I have some experience with this because of my background, but one of the use cases I'll use, so I'll speak before Nick, is one of my companies is not fundraising. They just launched a $300 million carbon credit market 4 days ago, right? And so this is using a white label decentralized finance digital asset exchange that you can do primary and secondary trading with your carbon credits. And so we're a technology service provider. We've had 3 customers all doing 3 different types of carbon credit exchanges on our exchange. Just bringing up that these are really good discussions to have with Michael, with Nick, with the entire panel, because these are what the companies you're investing in or the products you're investing in that they have to go through with their attorneys and accountants every day. So over to you, Nick.
The first question, right?
Yeah, the one about, because you're a crypto guy, but
Well,
what's a use case that you're seeing that is beyond?
So I think it's a good question for me because I've been a serial technological entrepreneur since I think 1978 when I built a Heathkit computer with a soldering iron because you couldn't buy one in the store. You had to get all the components and solder them together with the paper plans. And I tried to figure out, I had a lawnmower and I made money with the lawnmower and I figured, well, I can probably make money with a computer. So I tried to make money with the computer, but people didn't understand. I had to explain to them what the thing did or this and that. So I ended up writing software and I had a video store rental, that tape software that followed the tapes in the database. I had data for voter registration data that I sold to politicians as the years went by. And I tried, because of the new technology, to be able to bring it into the modern day at the time. And the same thing when the internet came out, we built many sites. I had a No More Hotels at getaroom.com, and it was a vacation rentals, but nobody, whoever had a computer, not many people had internet. And the payment rails were all screwed up. So, and then I built another one, and it was a little early, always early, so you gotta watch it. You're a little early, you can't make it, right? So then Bitcoin and blockchain came out, and it's a little better because somehow the money is already wrapped into what you're doing, because you're actually building currencies or building things that work through currencies. So one thing, so we started building products I had, like I said before, about 30% of the blockchain patents. One of them is blockchain paper ballot blockchain voting, and we tried to sell to the politicians. 13 many places. We ran it in elections in 2016 in some small areas, but many politicians already gamed the system. That's why they got into office. So they don't really want to hear anything about any new technology because they only understand their system. So as time goes on, more and more people adopt the technology, and then all of a sudden, if you didn't adopt it early, you're looking around trying to figure out what the heck happened, because of course the internet, the computer rage took a while, then the internet rage took a while. It had a big peak, and then all the fake ones disappeared, and then you got the big ones that showed up. Same thing with the computers. And same thing's happening probably with the blockchain, except that the ability to decentralize all the monetary things, and the ability for each person could have a smart contract of their own, or thousands of smart contracts of their own, means that the whole landscape and the whole world is changing. And I think that everybody has to do their homework. You have to learn what this is, because if you don't know what it is, it's going to surpass you. And everything you've done might not work out the way it worked before, because when you look back, filing cabinets disappeared with the computers, and big offices disappeared where the filing cabinets were, and cities shrunk, and people moved to paradise places, nice weather places. And when the internet showed up, and all these different businesses disappeared. And then when the smartphone revolution happened, even internet businesses disappeared and became apps. And now with blockchain, where each individual is in control of their money and can make incredible returns and pay for their schooling and do all these incredible things when they're 12 years old, this is a world, this has never happened before. This is something, the mentorship, you wonder why the kids don't listen to you, because they have Google. They don't listen to you, they just Google it. So when I was growing up, I had to ask somebody, and I had to find mentors to learn things, but the kids don't listen to us now because they have Google. But information is not wisdom, is what you got to tell them. I don't know if it's true, but it's good for the relationship. Tell them information is not wisdom, because in my day, that would mean that the librarian would be a billionaire, because she had all the information. So information is not wisdom. Remember that.
That's a good point. Information is not wisdom. Thanks, Nick. For those who don't know Nick, he's just got a little bit of passion around this subject, so it's all good. No, it's great. I am going to go back to Mike. Mike, back to what, not what we're talking about in terms of just barriers to why the technology is not taking off faster, and you can bring up regulatory if you like. What are perception of, what do you think about some of the reasons why the technology of blockchain is not being adopted faster?
So I think similarly, we would, each niche of blockchains has a different rate of adoption. For example, DeFi, I think the biggest hurdle for adoption is that it is outside of the control of banks to generate these yields. So that are extremely impressive compared to the traditional capital market. And banks want to participate, but it's just outside of the regulation. So there's businesses like Panther that are coming to market that provide the ability for banks to leverage DeFi yields. NFTs have a much faster growth trajectory because it is not challenging to the traditional capital market. It's challenging to music, sports, entertainment, media, etc. So it has a lot of celebrities that are participating because there's no reputational risk. I guess there could be if you do a poorly presented NFT, but some of the biggest celebrities in the world are launching NFTs because there's no smear campaign from the government to slow down adoption like there is with Bitcoin and DeFi and fungible currencies that challenge the US dollar or other fiat currencies. The metaverse is I mentioned, is growing by 3,000 to 4,000% annually, so it's growing extremely fast. But the biggest barrier to adoption, I think, is that it is not mobile. I think once Decentraland in particular, I think they're the closest. They're going to be mobile in 1 or 2 quarters. and then I'll be able to share a URL with you. And I can already share URLs with you if anyone goes to gda.xyz or fashionst.xyz, nftbazl.xyz, rare.fun. I've got a lot of URLs that can point someone directly to a metaverse experience, and I'll continue to have more, but it has to be browser-based. So if you try that on your phone, it won't work. Once it's mobile-based, then when we have celebrities performing on our stages in Decentraland, or we have fashion shows with celebrity models, and they're sharing them to Twitter or to Instagram, and there are millions million people communities can participate, then the growth trajectory, I think, starts to increase exponentially from the 3,000% number, which sounds impossible, but I was here a couple years ago talking about the metaverse, and I sounded wrong, and I'm certainly looking right.